Alright, hello everyone. Sorry, I was getting set up here. Got distracted. How y'all doing? Alright, cool. Thank you. So, first things first, I just want to apologize ahead of time. I was up till 3 in the morning last night getting this done, so I'm like kind of not myself right now. I'm sure the talk is super rough, and I'm not sure if you heard yet, like what we're actually doing here. I think Cassie alluded to it a little bit. So there's a big conference coming up next week. I think the numbers are like 1,500 people that are going to be there. By far the largest group I'll have ever spoken to. So I'm super duper nervous. So we're kind of using you as guinea pigs to see how you like the talk. Unfortunately, the talk does kind of require some knowledge around Angular and AngularJS. So that's what the whole conference is about. So if that's not your thing, I kind of apologize to you, but I try to make it as inclusive as possible. We'd love your feedback around that as well. And you know, if there's something that you don't like, or if there's something that doesn't really fit, I'd love to hear about it. And I'm sure Alyssa will as well, because you know, we want all the feedback we can get so we can do a good job up there. All right, so let's get started. So again, my name is Sergio Cruz, and today I'm going to be talking about difficulties people face when they're upgrading from AngularJS to Angular. If you don't know, AngularJS is the first version of Angular, the original one, and Angular is anything after version 2. So I'm going to do that by kind of walking through my personal history with AngularJS and kind of share a little bit like where I've come from and the things that I've written, so you can kind of understand why I'm passionate about the topic. And again, I'm a UI engineer and instructor at Code School, and you can find me on Twitter as #Serge. Odd name, I know. Cool. So all right. So back from the past, right? So the year is 2013. Words like twerk, hashtag, and selfie have just been added to major English dictionaries. I'm about to write my first AngularJS app ever, very first one. And what do I need to do? Well, it is 2013 after all. We go to the Angular website, we download the source code, we copy it, paste it in our public directory on our website or something like that, include some script tags on our website, and with some custom files, write some code, and profit. I mean, that's it. That's literally all it takes to write an app. And what I really loved about writing my first AngularJS app was that, you know, the idea to conception time was super duper fast. It happened like it wasn't even a thing. Once you understood Angular, you could just get productive with it really fast. But while being productive, we also got to take advantage of like really good engineering thingies, like great separation of concerns and MVC architecture, the same one that at the time we were really familiar with on the back end, but it wasn't really that prevalent on the front end. For me personally, AngularJS was the first JavaScript framework I ever used. So again, I loved it. And that was my experience, first experience with AngularJS in 2013. And now we're back to 2017. It's time to write a client-side app. Whoa, what just happened? What steps do we need to take? Well, we install the CLI to generate a project. Oh, hello, apparently TypeScript is a thing. Oh, hey, we need to use NPM for all the things, even to bring in like Twitter Bootstrap. Oh, apparently it's not called Twitter Bootstrap anymore, it's 2017. No script tags anymore. Who are my script tags? Help, can somebody help me? Like, what is even going on? Completely new process. We don't download things anymore. We don't just put in script tags. What happened? How did we get here? And this might sound a little funny, and if you're really experienced with JavaScript, like, it's totally not a big deal to you, but like this literally happens all the time with new Angular developers, or people who were used to writing apps a few years ago, kind of, I don't know, maybe be focusing on back-end things, and they're just now kind of trying to get back and see what the updated stuff looks like, and it's like a whole can of worms. Like, whoa. And this, honestly, this might sound like it's a problem with Angular, but it's really not. It's a problem with writing JavaScript in 2017. I mean, a lot of changes happened, and we get some cool things out of it, like more tooling, right? We get to use Node.js for front-end apps. That's pretty cool. Fancy things like Webpack that does everything that Go and Grunt and all of the other things ever did in like one place. So you want to talk about minifying CSS and minifying JavaScript, along with like a ton of other things that it provides. We get to support modern languages, so ES 2015 or ES 2016 or the ES 2017 that's about to come out, right? Like the latest versions of JavaScript or even TypeScript. All that's available because of these, all the tooling that's available to us. Also, apparently JavaScript is not limited to browsers anymore. Just the other day, I made a little video showing off how to make a drone fly using JavaScript. It took like 5 lines of code. It's not even funny. So it's, I mean, pretty amazing stuff that is all possible. Now, all of this while trying to keep the language backwards compatible, right? Since the primary focus here is UI development, we still want people in older browsers to be able to use our applications. So we want to use the latest stuff, but we still need to support all of these older stuff that people are still using. And then, if that wasn't enough, we're still learning best practices as we go. And honestly, we're making them up as we go too. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. So, yeah, things got a little complicated. It's not as simple as just throwing some script tags on the page anymore. And it's, you know, again, lots of good gains, but definitely comes, you know, there's definitely a price to pay there. So for example, dev onboarding is a little bit more difficult. If you're teaching a developer how to get going with JavaScript today, you're not just teaching them the language, you're teaching them a whole, you know, set of tools that they need to understand and whatnot. And it's not hard. So again, lots to gain, but it definitely comes at a price. And it's definitely important to keep that in mind. You know, it's our responsibility to help newcomers get acquainted with this new JavaScript ecosystem. What I mean is, new people are getting started with the stuff that we do every single day. And it's our responsibility to help them do so. It's not enough to just take a little course and get familiar with the syntax of JavaScript. Again, it's a whole can of worms. There's a whole lot of stuff that people need to get familiar with as they get started. So let's take it upon ourselves to help them out. I mean, it's all about empathy here. So hope you can relate. I mean, this is a new normal. It's not going to get much easier from here. I mean, maybe it will. I hope I'm totally wrong, but yeah, all the tooling and everything, it's the new normal. It's kind of expected. So what were some common difficulties that people have been facing as they were upgrading to AngularJS? Is it perhaps TypeScript, right? All the fancy new syntax that's available. Look, it's the class names. That wasn't a thing in JavaScript in 2013, right? Unless you use CoffeeScript or something. Or is it the new template syntax? I mean, man, back in 2013, I definitely didn't have like stars and parentheses and square brackets on my HTML or HTML tags. I mean, it's daunting, but is that what's keeping people from moving over? Perhaps it's the command line tools, which by the way are amazing. You get to generate a full Angular code with just a couple of commands. You have to install it and then ng new and boom. Like all this burden of the tooling that I'm talking about kind of goes away. But the fact that it's there, the fact that we kind of need a little bit of tooling to get things going is definitely a little intimidating for people who are just getting started. So is this the reason? I've been actually talking to some individuals. I've actually helped individuals upgrade their apps. And here are some of the things that they've either mentioned or difficulties that we ran into. So first of all, they're still using Bower. Yeah, a lot of us thought that Bower was kind of that. If you don't know what Bower is, it's a package manager that, you know, instead of downloading a script from a website like I did with AngularJS, we got to use a tool that automated that for us. But that's literally all it did. It just downloaded things and that was it. These days, with modern development, we use stuff like NPM that allows for other things as well. But hey, Bower, right? Another thing was CoffeeScript, believe it or not. People are still using CoffeeScript. It's still super prevalent. And Angular definitely talks better to TypeScript. And to go from CoffeeScript to TypeScript, it's not like, it doesn't happen in a finger snap. It's a completely different language, completely different world. And when you have a bunch of code written in CoffeeScript, you can't really afford to just drop everything and rewrite it, right? Perhaps they're still using Grunt or Gulp or some of the older tooling that worked really well with Bower, and they just basically grouped a bunch of files together and minimized them and just threw them on the script tag. Yeah, not too different from what happens today, but we're still relying on global state and things like that. Or perhaps it was that they started out an app like I did with mine. Back when I wrote my first app, Angular app in 2013, the application was part of a website that was written with an MVC backend tool kind of thing. And AngularJS lived within a little container inside of that. So I didn't even use routing or anything like that. So with that said, you know, that code was primarily built for a certain language, and we kind of sneaked some fancy JavaScript into there. And I see still a lot of people dealing with that. Perhaps it's .NET or something like that, right? And things are still having to, you know, fit side by side, and it doesn't work that well. And we'll give you some solutions for that in a little bit. So again, we really wanted to understand what was it that was keeping people from upgrading. Why is it that they love AngularJS so much still? And so we use something called Science. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's pretty cool. We asked developers about their upgrade process, and here are some of the findings. And by the way, this guy Jeff Welpley was the one who led out the process. What happened was we sent out a survey, and I want to say about 800 people filled it out, and they gave us a lot of good feedback around why is it that was perhaps taking them a while to upgrade, or perhaps they were done upgrading. So check this out. This graphic right here is a little word cloud that I generated. So within that survey, there's an open field that we just asked them, listen, what are some of the common difficulties you're running into? Just share with us. And I generated a word cloud off of all of the things that they said. And there you can start having an idea of the things that they were running into. So here are some of the pain points that they were running into as they thought about upgrading. So the number one thing that kept coming up over and over again was time and priority. It wasn't that important for them or their bosses or their managers to kind of stop everything and use the modern tooling. It was more important to get things done. They needed new features out, right? And it's just kind of how it went. And kind of related to this was business incentive. Guess what? Not a whole lot of businesses are making more money off of these new shiny tools. At the end of the day, a lot of non-technical places, all they care about is that their stuff is on the screen and that it works really well. That something happens when they click on the button. That something happens when they type, when their users type a credit card number on the page and a transaction happens. So it's kind of hard to persuade those sort of businesses to be like, hey, can we kind of rewrite everything so it looks exactly the same after we're done, right? Another thing was team proficiency. They had teams that were already familiar with AngularJS, and they were just hesitating. They're like, we don't want to relearn the whole thing to, again, have the same end result at the end. Like, we have apps and, they work. That's it, right? So, team proficiency. And the other one was third-party libraries, and this is huge. A lot of third-party libraries, they're not really upgradable per se. Some of them just released new versions of their tools for Angular instead of keeping it around for AngularJS. So what that means is that when you're in the process of upgrading, you either have to rewrite everything in the new version of their library, or new release of their library entirely, or you're just kind of dead in the water. And when you have a certain library or a certain third-party library that kind of takes over your whole code, that's kind of hard to do. A few of those that came up was things like ng Bootstrap or Angular Material. UI Router was a huge one as well. I know UI Router is doing a great job at trying to get people to upgrade, but it's still not super seamless. And last but not least, all the tooling, all the stuff we've been talking about all along, right? It's a lot to take in compared to just dropping a few script tags on the page. So, to close this point, the new Angular syntax is not the reason why some people aren't upgrading. Time to learn and the fear of change is what's keeping them from doing so. Just keep that in mind. What can we do about it today? How to go about it? So here are some steps that if you're writing AngularJS and you're a little bit resistant to change perhaps, well, you can still take some steps towards the upgrade. That'll just make your life a little easier. And perhaps, if you ever decide to upgrade, you'll be in a much better place if you aren't doing these things. So the first thing is writing full single-page applications. What I mean by this is not mixing back-end code with front-end code like I used to do. It's a much better idea to just consume an API or something like that to populate your app and do client-side routing and all of that, opposed to kind of having a half and half repository or code base kind of thing with just competing priorities. It gets a little awkward when you want to do, say, unit testing for JavaScript, and you have some JavaScript config files on there, but then you might have some Python config files as well, or Ruby, or whatever your backend code might be. So try to write full-on single-page applications. Install dependencies with NPM. This will set you up for success. NPM is definitely the way to go at this day and age. It will allow you to not just rely on the global state as you bring things in, because the next recommended thing is Webpack. So Webpack allows for that. It allows us to use CommonJS or just other methods that, it's not just relying on the window object to get access to things. You get to import them in. And even better, we get to use ES6 or ES715 or TypeScript. If we're using NPM and Webpack to get over to this it'll be much easier then. And last but not least, component-based architecture. Drop your controllers, drop all of the fancy things with Angular. Starting with 1.5, components are available. Take advantage of that. A really smart person I know said something to the effect of don't think of an upgrade as in something you have to have Angular in place or Angular version 2 plus in place to do so. Look at a page and re-architect it with the component-based architecture instead of the old way of doing things. And just try to kind of picture it in your head how you go about doing so. And so that way, if you get to solve the problem in the modern light instead of in the old school way, when time comes to upgrade, it will be a breeze. It'll be much better than trying to upgrade some obscure directives and things like that. So, and also, I completely understand that some of these steps might be super duper hard for some people. For example, my friends that use CoffeeScript, to just go from CoffeeScript to ES6 or TypeScript, it's a little hard. It doesn't happen in the finger snap. So totally understand. And to this point, if there's a legitimate reason why you haven't been able to upgrade, don't let we feel your pain. And me personally, I want to do my best to help you move forward. I want you to let me know personally, and also this community at large, what is it that we can do to help you? if you're just not willing to upgrade, if you're completely happy with things, I guess there's not a whole lot that we can do. But if there are like actual pain points and problems that need to be solved before you can do so, reach out to us, reach out to me, let's have a chat, and we'll see. Maybe it's educational material that I personally can put out to help you along the way. I don't know what it is, but definitely feel free to reach out. And know that, again, we feel your pain and we're here to help. Now for the rest of you, perhaps you've been a little comfortable about how you go about writing apps. Perhaps it's not comfort, but just a little bit of fear. You're scared of the modern tooling and all of that. I have a little message from you. Just jump. I mean, just do something. Just change. It's here. I have the cheesiest slide ever. I'm sure you've seen this one before. This is your comfort zone on one side, and this is where magic happens on the other one. Just jump. Sorry for the cliche, but it's true. Like, just be free. I mean, there's gonna be bumps along the way, but you know what? The earlier you run into them, the earlier you get to solve them. So just do it. Do some coding in your spare side on the weekends, at night, or whatever. And just try out the modern tooling. Don't let fear, don't let all the hesitation stop you from going where the whole industry is. Again, it's not easy. We understand. But hey, it's available to all of us. I mentioned earlier, if you need help along the way, I'll be happy to do so. But otherwise, just jump. I mean, learn this stuff. Just do it. Okay, go to a website and downloading a script and placing them and placing the script tags on your index.html. It's just not a thing that happens anymore, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Just jump. Like, just do it. I'm here to help you, but just do it. And know that, you know, if you're starting out, just know that you can sit with us. I love this phrase. It's kind of an inside joke for people who are familiar with ngconf. But yeah, you can sit with us. If you're a beginner, I mean, approach us. Let us know how we can help. But if you're a more experienced developer, do your best to help out. And that's honestly something that we all can do. For example, if you write a library that people use, open source or whatnot, do some easy to follow guides with easy code examples. Make it accessible for those that haven't been living in the same world as us, can, you know, kind of grok and understand what's going on. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been there, but I've felt left out before because everyone's talking about a thing and I have no idea what that thing is about. For example, Docker. Like, I remember people talking about Docker and I just had no idea what it did. And then I tried to read up on it and it was all like Chinese, and I don't speak Chinese. So, and then people would be super excited about it. I'm like, yeah, I am super left out right now. So finally got to sit with individuals that actually know what they're talking about, and they explained it to me. But I imagine that the same feeling happens with people just getting familiar with this new JavaScript world with all the modern tooling and Angular and observables and all of that. So know that you can sit with us this whole talk. If you forget everything I've said, just remember one thing: empathy. You know, if you're not a library author, for example, just, I don't know, help somebody learn. Go to a local meetup. If there's a more junior person at your job, like, mentor them through. We all can do a little something to help somebody. And even if you're starting out, guess what? You already know more than somebody else. So we can, like, if we just keep this thing going, if we all keep helping and keep this whole empathy thing in mind, the view can only be better. So let's help it be better. And they'll appreciate it so much. Newcomers into the field, it will be unforgettable. I still remember the individuals who helped me get started. I'm sure you do as well. So, if you haven't learned Angular yet, what are you waiting for? That's the question I'm going to leave you with. Thank you so much.